So this is the default code the React Native Facebook comes with when it generates a new project that basically contains the view and the text and the status bar. So I'll be changing the text over here to something else. That's going to be cinema booking UI. So when I save in the changes over here, you can see it reflects on the simulator. So let's proceed. So let's make reference from the UI, right? We start building from the calendar. So over here, I'll be creating a new file, and I'm going to name this file as the booking page. That contains all the information over here. So it's going to be a functional component. So export default. Then the component name is going to be the booking page. So over here is going to be an arrow function. For now, let's just return a view with a text displaying the booking page, right? So within the return, we're going to return a view and a text over here. So the text is going to render the booking page just like this. So make sure you have the view and the text imported from the React Native library. So we import the view and the text from React Native just like this. So we need to save any changes. So once we have this component, we head towards the app.js file. So we get rid of this style sheet and also the default code within the function app. So over here, I'll be returning the booking page, which is a self-closing tag over here. So when you saving the changes, you can see it reflects at the notch area. So to prevent it from being at the notch area, you wrap it with the save area view. And I'll prevent it from being at the notch area. There you go. So make sure you have the save area view imported from React Native as well. So within the save area view, so first of all, let's style the save area view. All right. So with the styling, let's give it a flex of 1. So I'll be going with an inline style. You can decide to go with a tailwind. So give it a background color as well. That's going to be a hex value color over here. So when saving the change, you can see it's flat over here. So in a save area view, you are going to have a scroll view that basically make its content scrollable. So we want the scroll to be horizontal manner over here. So I'd like to comment out the components we'll be rendering over here. So within the scroll view, the first one, you're going to have the calendar section over here, the calendar view section. So below the calendar view section is going to be the time slot. So below the time slot is going to be the curve line. And next to the curve line, you're going to have the seat. And also below the seat, you're going to have the legend. And below that is going to be the cinema details. There you go. So you start building from the calendar view over here. So for that, I'll be creating an additional file. I'm going to name this file as the calendar.js. That will contain our calendar component, right? So over here, I'll be creating the component. So export default. And the component name is going to be the calendar view. It's going to be an arrow function as well. So for now, I'd like to return a view with a text. So within the view, I'm going to have the text component that displays a text of calendar. So once you have that, make sure you have the view and the text imported, right? So I'll import that over here. Import view and the text from React Native. So let's save the changes. So within the booking page, you are going to render the components over here. So we need to import the calendar components we just created. So below the comment over here, you're going to render our calendar as a self-closing tag. So when you're saving the changes, you can see the text reflects. That says the calendar session. So at the top over here, I'll be importing use state from React, which is a hook in React. So we need to import use state we want to keep track of some state variables over here. So over here, I'll be creating the state variables, right? And the variable name is going to be now and set now. Then we assign a use state and initialize it a new date to it, right? We want to get a current date. So the now variable is going to hold the new date object over here. And below that, we are going to have a state of keeping track of the first month. So the first day of the month. And also the function that will update the variable. That's going to be the set first day of the month. And assign a use state. So to get a first day of the month, we call the date object. The first argument is going to be the year. So now dot get full year. And the next parameter is going to be the month. It's going to be now dot get month. Then set the date 1. And that initializes our first of the month in our use state. So we'll be doing same thing for the last day of the month, right? We want to keep track of the last day as well. So this variable name is going to be last day of the month. And a function that updates the variable name is going to be set last day of the month. So over here, we add 1 to the get month and also change this to 0. And that will get us the last day of the month over here. So once we have those variables, we also need to create a state for keeping track of the selected date, right? So I'll be creating a variable known as the selected date and also the function that updates the variable. So over here, we assign it a use state. Then we get the date and subtract 1 from it. So we need to pass those states to the calendar component as a prop. So the last day of the month is going to be the last of the month. Then we also need to pass in the first of the month as well. That's going to be the first of the month. We also need the selected date as well. So we need to pass those information as props to the calendar component. And also we need to pass the function that will update the selected date as well. That's going to be set selected date. So once we have those information provided to the calendar component, we can now move into the calendar component and start working over there. So over here, we can get information by restructuring the component, right? So curly braces over here, then we access the last day of the month, the first day of the month as well, and also the selected date, and a function that updates the date, and that's called the set selected date. There we go. So you can now provide those information to the calendar component. So I'll get rid of the text over here and return a scroll view. We want the content to be scrollable, right? So with the scroll view, provide some additional information. We want a horizontal scroll view, so we provide it horizontal scroll view, and we don't want to show the scroll indicator as well. So we set the show scroll indicator a value of false, and that will disable the scroll indicator. Then let's start the scroll view as well, right? So it's going to be content container style. Then we give it a padding right of 10. There we go. So over here, I'm going to create an array of days, and this days is going to base on the current month. So we pass in a length, and the length is going to be from the last day of the month. Then we call the get date method from it. So next to that, we are going to have a function where you can access the index over here. And return something. So before return something, let's get the current date over here. So for that, we are going to set a new date object, then we pass in our first day of the month. So below that, we can update the current date by setting a date over here. Then we pass in our current date. Then we get a date as well, adding the index to it. Once we have that, we can also get a day name from the information we've provided already by accessing the current date. Then we convert that to a local string, where we set that to default. And also in here, we set the weekday to be short. And that's going to get the 3 letters of each day. There we go. So once we have that, we're going to return a touchable opacity for each day, right? Giving it a key of its index. Make sure you have the touchable opacity imported from React Native. So the touchable opacity comes with on press. That's going to be the function that gets called when the date is selected, right? And for that, we are going to update the date. So we are going to set the selected date, passing the index. So last day of the month, .get date is on the function. So over here, we need to add a new keyword to wherever you are calling the date object. There we go. So within the touchable opacity, we are going to render a text that displays the day name, as you can see over there. Below that, we're also going to have another text, and for that, I'll be copying, pasting that. So this is basically going to get us the day, right? You can see starting from 1 to 31st. So let's start the day name, right? We're going to give it a font size of 14. Set the color to white. There you go. And also give it a font weight of 600. So we'll be adding some styling to the day as well, to the number of days. There you go. So here we change the font weight to 500. So let's start the touchable opacity. Let's give it a width of 57, a height of 70, and also set some background color over here. So it's going to be a hex value color. There you go. As you can see, the effect. Let's give it some border radius over here. Let's set the border radius to 18. There you go. Alignment is going to be center. So align items is going to be center. And also justify content. We want this to be spaced evenly, right? There you go. It's looking good already. So let's provide some margins and spacing between it. So the margin is going to be horizontal. There you go. I think that's basically it. So with the selected date, you can change the color over here based on the selected date, right? We check if that's got to the index. We assign it a different color. Else we set it to the default one. There you go, as you can see. So I think that's basically it for the calendar view, right? So let's move on to the time slot over here. So below the calendar view is going to be the time slot where you display the time to be selected. So over here, I'll be creating an additional file, and I'm going to name this file as a timeslot.js, where I'll be creating my time slot component, right? So export default, then the component name is going to be time slot. which is going to be an arrow function. So over here I'll be returning a scroll view, and in our scroll view we are going to have a text field, right? And the text is going to basically tell a time slot. So once we have our components created, you move into the booking page component and import the time slot. Then we can render the time slot component, which is a self-closing component over here. Make sure you have the text imported from React Native over here. So I'll be doing that over here, saving the changes. There we go. You can see the time slot below the calendar, right? So let's start working on the time slots over here. So you'll be having the scroll view. We are going to set this to horizontal and also disable the indicator, the scroll indicator. And for that, we set a show scroll indicator a value of false. And below that, we are going to start the scroll view, right? So with the content container style, let's set the margin top to 25, right? And I'll provide a space. So in here, we'll get rid of the text over here. So over here, we'll be doing something similar as the calendar component, right? We create array of time slots where we return the touchable opacity, right? So I'll set the length to be 4. You have a function over here where you can access the index. Then we loop through the index and return a touchable opacity over here. So make sure you have the touchable opacity imported. So with the touchable opacity, let's start it, right? Let's give it a key of its index. And also here within the touchable opacity, we're going to have a text that will display the time. And that's going to be hard coded over here, right? So let's start this by giving it a color of white. And so let's start the touchable opacity as well. So with that, let's set the width to be 100 and also the height as well. Let's align item to be at the center. So in here we need to bring the return keyword. There we go, as you can see over here. So below that, we are going to just find content to be at the center and also set a border radius to this. And finally, give it some margin horizontal for some spacing and a background color. The background color is going to be based on the index, right? So manually, I set the index to be 2, right? You can manipulate it based on your business logic. There you go. That's the components for the time slot. Yeah, I think that's it. So below the time slot is going to be the curve line, and for that component, I'll be creating it below over here. So the component name is going to be curve line. It's going to be an arrow function. Yeah, I'm going to return a view within this view. So let's render the component over here to have a look at it. So as a self-closing component, you're saving the changes. So within this view, I'm going to return an SVG, right? So we need to import that. Make sure you have that installed, the React Native SVG that comes with the path as well. So over the path over here, so let's set the height of the SVG to be 100% and also set the width as well to be 100%. So within the path, we provided some data attributes, right? We provide a starting point, and also it's going to be a quadratic curve and some values. So you can manipulate these values to suit your needs. And let's set the stroke to be a hash value. That's the color. And the stroke width as well. That's how thick you want it. Let's set a fill to none and saving the changes. There we go. So with the view, let's set the flex to be 3.5. Sorry, to 3. And the curve line disappears. What's happening? So with the scroll view over here, let's provide some styling over here. Let's give it a flex grow of 1. And also set some background color over here. Provide a padding to the whole component, right? A padding of 20. There we go. There you go, as you can see the line. So I think we can proceed, right? So the next one is to render the seat over here. So below that, I'm going to return a view and start this view. This view is going to have a flex direction of row. And we set a flex wrap to be wrap. Justify content over here to be at the center. So within the view, you are going to do something similar as we did for the calendar and a time slot, right? We are going to create an array of seats with a length of 70. Then we have a function where you can access the index and directly return an icon. And the icon is going to be from the material icons. So make sure you have the Expo Vector icons installed. So the material icons, over here we pass in a key of index, and also the name of the icon is going to be the chair. It's going to have a size of 20. There we go, as you can see. So let's start the icon. Let's give it a width of 20, a height of 20, and a margin of 5 to provide some spacing. And also set the color to a function that will get some random 3 colors, right? Some random color from these 3 colors. So I'll be creating a function that will get the random colors over here. The function name is going to be get random color. So here is going to take in the colors. So over here I'll be creating a variable of random color. Then you can use the math.random and multiply it by the colors length, which is 3. Then you can return the colors of its random color. There we go. As you can see over here, so we have a random color generated. So let's move on to the legends section over here. We are going to have a view. So this view is going to have a flex direction of row, and also justify content to be center. Sorry, to be spaced around. Set the margin top to be 80. So within the view, you are going to have another view. So over here, we are going to start the inner view, give it a flex direction of row, and also justify content to be at the center. So within the inner view over here, I'm going to render an icon, a text. The text is going to display available, as you can see over here. So next to the text is going to be the dot indicator, right? So for that custom dot indicator, I'm going to have a self-closing view, which I'm styling. So with the styling over here, let's set the width to be 10, height also to be 10, and give it some border radius. So border radius of 5. Also some margin right to space, margin right of 5, and also provide it a background color. Background color of white. So let's save in the changes. As you can see over there. So let's start the available text, right? Let's change the color to be white. So over here, we need to align items to be at the center. There we go. So I'll copy this and repeat it 2 more times, changing in the text color, the text, and also the custom dot indicator. So in here, the text is going to change to the thicken with the color of gray, and also set the background color over here to be gray. The last one, the text is going to change to be selected with a different color. And also a different background. Saving the changes. There we go. It's looking as expected. So when you compare, I think we are getting there. The last component is to render the cinema details over here. And for that, I'll be creating a file named as cinema details.js. Over here, I'll be creating a component. The component name is going to be the cinema detail. So as usual, I'm going to return a view. And within this view is going to be a text displaying the cinema details. Then we proceed to import the view and the text from React Native. So once you have that, you can move into our booking page and render the components over here. So cinema details, you have self auto import over here. So as you can see it below, so I'll remove the text over here and start the outer view. So the outer view is going to have some margin top for some spacing, a margin top of 30. Background color with some hex value over here. And also some border radius as well. Border radius of 30, a padding of 15, and also align items be at the center. There we go, as you can see over there. So within the outer view, we are going to have an inner view over here. So this view is going to have a flex direction of row. So within this view, we are going to have an icon and text being aligned in a row format, right? So the icon is going to be from the icons. Make sure you have that installed at expo/vector icons. And the name of the icon is going to be the location icon. You provide a size over here to be 20. And also a color of white. There you go, as you can see over there. So below the icon is going to be, or next to the icon is going to be the text displaying the location name. So and that's going to be the Smart Cinema Sky Park. So let's start this text with the color of white. And also give it some font size of 18. And a margin bottom of 5. Let's also give it a padding left to provide some spacing as well. There we go. So below that view, we are going to have another view that will provide us some spacing over here, right? So with the style, we'll give it a height. A height of 10. We want some spacing over here. There we go. So below that, we are going to have a text of description about the cinema details. So let's start this test as well. Change the color to be gray. Set the font size to be 14. There we go. The last one is going to be a button, right? And for that, we are going to use the touchable opacity that behaves as a button. So for that, we space out by setting the view at a height of 20. And below that, we are going to have a touchable opacity over here. So let's start the touchable opacity. So let's provide some width, height, and some border radius to the touchable opacity. A width of 230, height of 50. Background color. That's going to be the deep orange color. And some border radius as well, border radius of 15. And this will justify the content to be at the center. There we go. If I could spell the border radius right. Yeah, that's it. Let's align items to be at the center as well. Right, so within the touchable opacity is going to be a test that display the buy ticket with the price as well. So $48. So let's start the test by changing the color. So let's set the color to be white. Yeah, I think that's basically it. We have all our components built out. So let me spell this border radius right. Yeah, we have rounded. And that's basically it. So when you compare the two, it's similar. So see you in our next tutorial. Until then, stay tuned.